Scott Ross.
Hi, my name is Scott Ross. I'm a second-year graduate student in sculpture. This is my piece for Sculpture on Campus. This piece, well, a little background about myself. I spent the better part of 10 years building homes in between my undergraduate degree and then being accepted and enrolling here. And in that time, I became more, grew my awareness towards architecture and appreciation for it, and then an actual very intimate involvement with it as I built. And in that, I learned what architecture can do for the human experience. It moves you around inside of a building. It moves you outside as you have to enter and exit construction. And so that led me to studying different architecture. And a big part was the arts and crafts movement, as it has it reveals a part of its interior structure on the exterior, and that led to arts and crafts coming from its heavy Japanese influence. And in that, in Japan, Japanese culture, in the Buddhist tradition, different spirit traditions, Buddhist tradition and Shintoism, the same marker or signage, and it's called a torii gate, is at the entrance to both of these places. And in that culture, there's no hierarchy between these spiritual traditions. And so there's a degree of acceptance there between different belief systems and an acceptance of one's own place. And so I used that as kind of my stepping off point for this piece, because in a broader view, I think acceptance would do a worldview a lot better good. And part of that, in being accepting of others, is to be you have to be somewhat flexible, I believe. I have to be flexible in my own self to accept other people and my own ideas. And so in this sculpture, I wanted to manifest that interior, intangible aspect of acceptance and manifest that into a physical experience, like the way thresholds or windows or doorways do in architecture. And this is why this piece leans to one side. You enter upright and whole in what you know as an idea, and as you move through it, you have to adjust yourself physically for the passage. And then after an experience is over, though none are usually start, stop, start, stop, there's always an overlap. You are moving past a certain experience and you're upright whole person still. And those are a lot of the elements of this sculpture that went into it. The material are reclaimed railroad ties from Northern Illinois. The railroad tie is a supporting structure for this passage and people on a journey and movement. And I wanted to pick a material that had some history of its own to it and not new. Any questions?
How is it not falling over?
Well, I use these 10-inch timber lock screws. There is a supporting wall on the opposite side that helps the structural integrity of the piece. And part of this sweeping idea and somewhat of a not being apparent in its construction on how it stays up adds to this kind of idea of anxiety or a little bit of tension, like does it stand, will I make it through an experience, this kind of thing.
Are they sunk into the ground at all, or are they just?
No, they're resting on a footer, which is just a series of railroad ties laid down on the ground, and those are pinned into the ground with long lengths of rebar, like stakes,
Okay.
and then those are set on that. Yes?
Scott, I just wanted to talk a little bit about, especially viewing this from the ridge, kind of over towards art and design. It's very reminiscent of the barns here in the county and their degradation and how they slope and fall. And I really, before hearing that it was about this Japanese gate idea, I really saw it in a way as kind of a reflection on the changing traditions, the takeover of the land here by the university, how life is changing for many people in this area, and I really thought it was an homage to that, to that history and stuff as well.
That's a different read than what my intentions were, but the piece is open for that. I had the good fortune to have a lot of people share their interpretations, and in this environment I can be very direct in what my intentions are, but that was a big thing I realized also about this piece was it brought me back to when I had built homes. You spend all of this time building a home and all of that effort, and then it becomes someone else's possession, actually. And so my effort is just there. And so here, I realized when I finished this, that old feeling came back to me, which I hadn't had in a while, is that now this piece is far more yours than it is my possession. And part of this sway was standing on this opposite side and picking up sways and swales in the landscape, coming here and kind of picking that up in a repetitious way.